علمكم آمين. Author, may Allah show him tremendous mercy, he says the obligatory acts of wudu are intention. The Prophet said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, actions only by intentions. So you have to intend, right? And we said you have to keep that intention throughout the whole wudu, right? Like you need to be focused on wudu. I'm intending to remove the state of ritual impurity throughout the whole thing, correct? Otherwise, it doesn't count as an act of worship. Is that correct or not correct?
That's not correct.
Why is that not correct?
Because we agreed you only need to do it at the beginning.
Okay, well, why do we say that? Why do we invent that? The Prophet ﷺ said, "Innamal a'malu binniyat." So actions are only by intention. So that means when you're washing your face, if there's no niyyah, it doesn't count. When you're washing your arm, if there's no niyyah, it doesn't count. When you're wiping your head, if there's no niyyah, it doesn't count. So why do we?
This would be a difficulty that would
Hmm? Right?
if you don't want me to answer, it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So al-mashaqqatu tajlibu at-taysir.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
inshallah.
Right? So that's exactly it, right? Is that we mentioned the darura, duress. Allah doesn't ask you to do impossible things. Allah doesn't ask you to regularly do really difficult things. So asking the average Muslim, the average person to function like that, it's not realistic, right? Okay, so you have to intend that. Okay, great. So you have to have intention just at the beginning of washing the face. So you wash the face. Where does it stop, guys? I'm going to go alphabetical. So that was Muhyiddin, my big brother, my barabai. Okay, Sheikh Musa, Bismillah, the limits of the face. Musa?
Well, what would normally the chin to where the sides of the ears are?
So he said sides of the ears touch his head all the way down what? Down the
Uh, to where the Afwan, to like where the hairline is, or
where the hairline is. Okay,
would
at
be
the
the
top.
hairline, and to
Okay,
where
down
the
to
chin would end.
the chin bone. So the chin bone. Okay, that whole chin bone.
Where the
And
chin.
okay, so the
Yep.
shin bone. I go all the way up the chin bone to where my ears touch the head. Okay. What about what about the areas to the side of the line of the hairline? So I'm gonna go put my hand on my sideburn and go up, 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 and now here to my right and left of where my of where my hairline is. What about that? How does that work?
You would wash what would be like normal for somebody. So if someone has like a receding hairline that comes up, you would wash
Okay.
to what
So
would have
so I'm
been
gonna
like
go up
considered
from my I'm gonna
normal
go
for
up
the
from my
face.
nose to the center of my hairline, or where the hairline should be. Okay. Then I'm gonna draw a line from there to the top of my where my ears connect. The top of where my ears connect. Okay. So that's gonna mean that if I go to the right and to the left, there's gonna be some area that is considered head and not considered face. Okay. Does that make sense, Musa? Is my connection?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me know if my connection is funny, okay? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now MU, who's after MU? Omar. MUS is Omar, right? K, KLM, okay, Omar, Bismillah. What does that mean if we say that the face ends at the chin bone? What does it mean for a woman to wear hijab? What does she have to cover?
She's wearing hijab.
When you wear hijab, what has to be covered?
What's below the hairline up to her chin.
Okay, so can she expose beyond her
There's
chin bone? right? So she has a
شوف لا أدري.
hijab. She has a hijab on, it's on her chin bone, and then hijab comes down, so I can see her chin bone and I can see skin underneath the chin bone. Is that acceptable? Is that considered hijab?
لا أدري.
No, it is not, right? It does not count because she's now exposing something that is other than her face, right? So when we say
Okay.
hijab is you cover everything apart from face and hands. That means from your wrists to your fingertips, that's exposed, and from the normal hairline all the way down to the chin bone, that's face. But if it's now exposed beyond the chin bone, okay, that is her aura is exposed. That's going to be
No.
haram for her to go in the street like that, and her prayer is not going to count, right? The prayer
So
is not going to count. Yes, go ahead.
is like, you know how like in Jordan, how like the Syrian women would wear their hijab, they would cover that area.
شيخنا أنا ما كنت طلع على البنات السوريات يعني زيك يعني
No. استغفر. يعني حاجة
Okay, no, go ahead. I'm just
انا
نكت عليك.
انا فضحت نفسي خلاص. يعني ب...
Go ahead.
لانه
I don't remember that. I don't remember that because the Syrian women that I would see were in where I was, they were all like super like religious, so I don't know.
نعم
But
نعم
Pakistanis, I don't know, Pakistan, for example, Pakistan, India is like, this idea you just put something over your head, like that's hijab, right?
نعم.
No, that's not hijab, right? That doesn't count. And so what does it mean? You go out of the street, you are doing something haram by exposing your aura, right? And and may Allah protect us. And
Yeah.
you also when you pray, the prayer doesn't count, right? So it's a mushkila, right? So you have to be careful, right? The prayer does not count. So when you say fear Allah, or it means stick to rules. Like Allah has certain rules, you actually have to stick to them, right? And it's not a joke. May Allah protect us. Khair. So that's the face. كلنا فضحنا حالاتنا سيدنا شيخ عمر. كل واحد منا قد فضح نفسه 1000 مرة. الله المستعان. يا رب. Okay. So washing both hands and arms. Okay, so here's a question. I am on Hajj, okay? And you just told me that as a woman, I have to make sure that I cover everything other than my face. When I go on Ihram, what can a woman not cover?
Her face.
Her face. So mashallah, Shaykhana, you've just made my life very, very hard. I'm in Tawaf, okay? I need to cover everything apart from my face, but I can't expose anything beyond my face. So what I'm going to do before I go on Umrah on Hajj is I'm going to have a hijab surgically sewn into my face, such that it's exactly on the chin bone, so that if it doesn't go, because if it goes up onto the face, I've disrespected the rights, or have not honored the rights of Hajj and Umrah. And if it exposes anything beyond it, then I've exposed my aura. Is that a reasonable thing to do? Should we all have plastic surgery?
No.
No.
A reasonable thing to do, is it? Right? So given that it's a material, right? You have a piece of cloth on your face, you are moving around, it is moving around. It's going to be pretty difficult to make sure that A, it doesn't cover anything beyond the face, it doesn't expose anything beyond the face, and B, it doesn't cover any of the face. It's going to be very difficult. So what are we going to say? We can say, sister, we're going to say, ما لا يتم وجود الواجب إلا به وجود الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. Whatever is a necessary means to an obligation becomes an obligation, right? Whatever is a necessary means to an obligation is an obligation. Sister, you're gonna have to cover a little bit more of your face and a little bit more of the area, so that it doesn't move and you don't expose yourself, right? So anything that's saying that if there's an obligation and you could only achieve the obligation by doing X, then X becomes obligatory. Okay, so we say here, there's an issue. This is what we, when we're weighing up the pros and cons, we say either I be careful about the ihram, or I'm going to be careful about my aura, and it's more important to be careful about your aura, right? Than it is your ihram. Okay, makes sense? So same concept though. Allah doesn't ask you to do impossible things. So we've seen that Allah doesn't ask you to do impossible things. Allah doesn't ask you to regularly and normally do things that are really, really hard. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expects you, if He tells you to do something, He expects you to take the means to achieve that. Right? Okay, wiping the head. Somebody else. Omar, who was after Omar Salahuddin. Bismillah. When we say wiping the head, what do we mean?
I don't really know.
Okay. We go on to Ziya. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa
It
alaikum
means any part of the head, even a small few millimeters, needs to be wet.
Okay, so when you say head, do you mean the skin or do you mean the hair?
We mean the skin ideally.
Okay,
No, I mean the hair. Yeah.
we mean either the skin, meaning the scalp,
In all the hair.
or the hair that falls naturally within that limit, right? So I have my hat on right now. The hair that would normally fall in the area that my hat is covering, that is the hair that you can wipe. Okay, what if I had long hair? I have long hair
Then
from
you
the top
just-
of my, and I just wipe
You
the
just
end of
wipe
it.
the bit over your head.
Yeah, the area, so that hair that falls within that limits. But if I wipe a part of the hair that if it was to fall naturally, it would fall into my nose, or fall onto my ear, or fall onto my neck, then that's not acceptable. So a woman, for example, she has long hair and she just wipes the end of it, that doesn't count. Okay? But you could, for example, drip through a hijab onto your scalp, right? Or drip through a hat. So the hat, that the hair just drips, the water just drips through, and you feel it on your head. You feel it, it goes onto the hair within that limits, that's fine. Okay, washing the feet up to and including the ankles. Musa, can you explain the issue of two? The word two in washing the elbows and the word two in washing the feet, washing the ankles.
The issue with two.
Yeah, so Allah mentions وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ and your arms to the elbows.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the
Yeah.
number two.
Yeah.
Yes. So the two here is for the hands, including the elbows. So the two here means like with. So like
Yeah.
in two,
Okay.
the elbows.
So does that say that in the Quran that ila means ma'a?
No, but that's how the Shafi'i grammarians have understood it, along with the Ahadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Okay. So we used something other than the Quran and Sunnah to understand the Quran and Sunnah. Is that correct?
Yes, in instances where there needs to be
Okay.
explanation.
And do you think that's an objective system, like it's 100% perfect?
No, that's why different usul
Exactly.
thoughts have emerged.
Classic mistake that many people make. They think that the Quran and Sunnah speaks for themselves. They don't. I interpret them, you interpret them, she interprets them, they interpret them. I have an approach, you have an approach, she has an approach, they have an approach. So every single person is going to come and apply certain tools to the Quran and Sunnah. Those tools are not they're not in revelation. The Prophet ﷺ didn't say read Sahih Bukhari. We have an ijtihad, which is we think that if a hadith fulfills these conditions, we think that would make it us have confidence that the Prophet ﷺ said it. We don't know that necessarily. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not spell out how to analyze the Quran and Sunnah in the Quran and Sunnah. So therefore we have our own human, imperfect, differing, relative ways of interpreting revelation. So case in point, what does the word ilah mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give you like, you know, like you have like when you download an app, like there's all these files in it, right? There's going to be like telling you how that thing works. It's going to tap into these things. Like there's all these things with it, like telling you how to do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give us a book explaining the word ilah. So what does the word ilah mean? Two. Does it include the word after it? Does it mean to, up to and including the elbows, up to and including the ankles, or does it not? So the grammarians, looking at Arabic language, they say there's three camps. Depending which which opinion you follow, you're going to have a different conclusion. Camp number one, yes, it does. Ilah includes the word that follows it, right? If you followed that conclusion, you would say that washing your elbows is obligatory because it says wash your arms to the elbows, i.e., including the elbows, and wash your feet to the ankles, i.e., including the ankles. If you followed that camp, that's the conclusion. You'd also conclude that you are obliged to fast a part of Maghrib, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ثُمَّ أَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. Right? And then it says, complete the fast to the night. So that means you'd have to fast some of the night as well. Because if the word ila includes the thing after it, you have to fast some of the night, which I believe the Shia do. Camp number 2, it does not include the word after it. So it means up to and not including. Accordingly, you would not say it's obligatory to wash the elbows or to wash the ankles, and you would not fast for any of the night. Position number 3, it includes it if they are homogeneous. Meaning, if the word after it is part of the same type of thing, then it's included. But if it's not part of the same type of thing, it's not included. So, ثُمَّ أَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ, and then complete the fast until the night. Night and day are not the same. So therefore, it does not include fasting part of the night. As opposed to, it says, wash your arms up to the elbows. Your fingertips up to your shoulders are considered one thing that's called your yad. In Arabic, your fingertip to your shoulder is called your yad. That's called your arm. Okay? So it says, وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, and your arms up to your elbows. The elbow is part of your arm. So therefore, it's included. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ, and your legs. Right? It doesn't say your foot. It says, وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, and your leg. The ankle is part of your leg. Does that make sense? So on a simple level, yes, you have to wash your ankles. Yes, you have to wash your things. On a higher level, we have used an imperfect, human-created, subjective, relative system to interpret Quran and Sunnah. So now everyone's freaked out that, oh, that means not objective. No, that's the way we do it. There's actually no other way to do it. So that means we're going to be pluralistic because we're actually going to have different ways of doing it. We're not going to take it so seriously. It's not so dogmatic because we realize it's an ijtihad at the end of the day, right? And so we're going to have pluralism. Pluralistic, we'll be pluralistic. Okay? I can understand why somebody would say it's not obligatory to wash their elbows because they have a different understanding of the word ilah. And the meaning of ilah was not revealed in the Quran. Right? So it was like, Akhi, the hadith is sahih. Did the Prophet define what a sahih hadith was? Or did you define what a sahih hadith was? Did the Prophet say this person's reliable and that person's not reliable? And this book doesn't say that. So the deen does not come with its own system to analyze it. We have to come up with our own imperfect, human, relative attempts. They are good attempts at analyzing revelation. And that's all we have. نحن متعبدون بآراء رجال. We have no choice except to worship Allah based on the mere opinions of mere human beings. They're academic, right? So the word ilah is not just ridiculous. It's not ala kayfa. It's not just like make it up. But we don't actually know the answer. It is not a fact that ilah includes or doesn't include. It is an ijtihad of grammarians. Just like an ijtihad that this hadith is sahih. Just like an ijtihad that the hadith means this. Like an ijtihad that this hadith should give you precedence over that hadith, etc. Go ahead, Qasim.
Yes, assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. So if so then can somebody be held accountable, for example, if they reject a sahih hadith because they could say that this is like a man-made system and it's not in the Quran and Sunnah, like you said, that defines what sahih is. So they could say like, I don't believe in this hadith even though it's in Sahih and Bukhari. Or even somebody that maybe rejects hadith altogether because they say, Bukhari and Muslim are not in the Quran. What would you say about that?
So number one, every single mujtahid has acted upon certain weak hadith and ignored, quote unquote, certain sahih hadiths. Okay, so people do that, number one. Okay, so there's going to be a hadith, and this hadith is sahih according to many scholars, but there's other evidence. Okay, so what would be wrong is just to be arrogant. Right, so let's take an example of the word ilah. Okay, so I'm doing this I'm trying to discuss the word ilah. And you're like, اختلف الشيوخ. You guys don't know what's going on. You know, you guys are crazy. I'm going home. So that's wrong. We have a problem, which is we don't know what ilah means. And then we're gonna go to specialists, this grammarian, that grammarian, this grammarian, that grammarian. They spent a long time with Arabic language and they have this conclusion. So you can appreciate the difference, but you can't discount them. There's a difference between discounting it and appreciating the difference. So someone comes along like, Bukhari, who knows what Bukhari is anyway? That's just discounting it. So there's a big difference between knowing that it's not perfect and discounting it. So somebody who just discounts stuff because they can't be bothered, that's a sinful person. They're not a kafir, but they are sinful. Does that make sense? Like that's not how you're supposed to function.
Somebody that rejects hadith is not taken out of Islam.
No. So if
Really?
they say وَلَوْ قَالَهُ النَّبِي, now we have a problem. He says even if the Prophet said it. Okay, Habibi, you got a problem now. But if the person says, here's a hadith, رواه فلان عن فلان فلان, شوف القصة now. Right, look at this. Right, look at that story now. Like how you got a whole story now. So and so narrates from so and so from so and so. What are you talking about? Right. So they question things that are questionable, right? So we have to understand a hadith that is sahih as dhanni is questionable to begin with. The errors do actually come up, and you will see them. So, but this person is sinful in that they're careless, non-critical rejection of things. They're like, who knows, right? That's what a lot of people do. Like, shuyukh, they say all sorts of crazy stuff. So, Habibi, look at my discussion, appreciate my standpoint, look at another standpoint, agree or disagree, but don't just discount stuff. So they're sinful for just not being reasonable about things and just rejecting things for no reason. Now, if they said, even if the Prophet ﷺ said it, I wouldn't accept it, that's kufr, of course. Right? Does that make sense?
But Shaykh,
Yeah,
if
that
you,
makes
it's,
sense.
One
it's
second.
not just, sorry.
What if so? So if you broke it down for them, I'll give you an example, right? I on a board, someone's say I reject all hadiths because they're all made up. So I show them book by book by book that there are at least 70 Sahaba that said that the Prophet ﷺ said, quote, "Man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar." Whoever intentionally lies about me, let him take his seat in the hellfire. So I showed them book by book by book, independent source, this, such that it's historically impossible that that's an error. So now they know, they've seen it, they understand that this is true. The Prophet did actually say these words. And then they come along and say, but I still don't believe it. That's kufr. As opposed to, I don't understand what the hadith system is, but it looks fishy. Or I understand what the hadith system is, and it is fishy. Right? So these are there's three different things. One is, I can see with my own eyes that it's clear that the Prophet said these words, but I don't accept it. That's kufr. It's just disbelief. You're not following the Prophet as opposed to, I follow the Prophet but I don't believe that your system represents what the Prophet said. And that's either going to be for legitimate reason or no legitimate reason. Like you're just arrogant. In which case you're a
And
fast.
if it's for a legitimate reason, is that valid to think that?
100%. Every single faqih does that. Every single. So who is it? I believe it was Al-A'mash or someone, one of the Salaf. He said about Ibrahim an-Nakha'i. He said, I've never seen anybody who rejects more hadith that he hasn't heard of before than Ibrahim an-Nakha'i. So meaning the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, they would hear hadith, they're like, that's not a hadith. They're like, yeah, but so-and-so narrated it. Like, I don't. What? Even if he narrates it, it's not a hadith. I'll give you an example. Imagine if a Sahabi told you a hadith. Is it kufr to reject it?
No.
So that you can't get more sahih than that, a Sahabi. So you are Sayyidina Umar, Abu Musa al-Ashari knocks on his door. No answer. No answer. No answer. So Abu Musa al-Ashari leaves. Sayyidina Umar comes out. Why are you leaving? He says, oh, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, al-istidhan thalath wa illa farji'. The Prophet said, you knock 3 times, and if they don't answer, you go. So what does Sayyidina Umar say? Oh, nice hadith. He didn't say that. He said, you better find a witness for what you're saying, otherwise I will have you beaten. So he rejected a Sahih hadith. Right? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu told Ibn Abbas that if you make wudu from that which is heated by fire, then you have to make wudu. Like if you touch something that's been heated by fire, you have to make wudu. So that's Abu Hurairah telling Ibn Abbas. That's a Sahih hadith. What do you want more than that? The one person between you and the Prophet ﷺ. Ibn Abbas says, bro, if you heated up water, and you made wudu with hot water, do you have to make wudu from the wudu that you made? Abu Hurairah got very upset and said, cousin. I mean, cuz, right? Like as in the slang. He's like, bro, like don't say things like that. The Prophet ﷺ said it, you can't make fun of it. So Ibn Abbas was like, I know the Prophet ﷺ didn't say that word because it doesn't make any sense. So we see that many times, many times. And on top of it, in the world of hadith, reliable people make mistakes. Reliable people make mistakes, right? So Imam Muslim in the beginning of Kitab al-Tamyiz, who says, you know, if when you say a reliable narrator, it doesn't mean somebody who's never made a mistake, because everybody makes mistakes. What it means is you don't normally make mistakes. It's extremely rare. So that means the whole hadith system is always in the question mark. But it's just the default is that you should trust it. And you find mistakes. People make mistakes. Big people make mistakes. So when you say a Sahih hadith, you mean so-and-so who's reliable by default does not make mistakes, narrating from somebody who's reliable, who by default doesn't make mistakes, relating from somebody, that's what a Sahih hadith is. And so to begin with, there's always a small question mark next to it. We all understand that. That's why every single Mujtahid Imam will quote-unquote ignore certain Sahih hadiths and act upon other certain weak hadiths because it's not as cut and dry as it looks, right? So the
But
system.
Sheikh, this doesn't apply to us, does it? Because we have sort of, we've got alhamdulillah, we have a book of, we have a chain of knowledge, which is a chain of ijtihad, which has been done for us. So on us, it is incumbent really to just follow the ijtihad
That's
and
true.
the
That's true. But we should view it as a very thorough and detailed, imperfect, possibly incorrect approach. That's what it is.
My point is that we cannot. But for example, I cannot say that I reject.
Yeah.
If the Shafi fiqh is saying that this is the way they should be
So you're
interpreted, I cannot say that I don't interpret it. I don't agree with
but
this.
what is wrong then is when somebody becomes dogmatic and they say Shafi is the only way. That's just wrong. That's just wrong because we already know that we're playing games here. We made lots of assumptions. They're very good assumptions. They are very thoroughly thought out assumptions. Yes, tens of thousands of scholars agreeing with it. Fantastic. But you still may be wrong. And so whenever anybody becomes dogmatic, it's Shafi'i or death. It's my opinion or you're wrong. It's just an indicative of the person does not understand the whole system to begin with. They just don't understand what's going on.
No, that I agree with that. But the point is that as a rule, you should generally, if you're following a fiqh, just follow the fiqh.
So the obligation of the layman is to have extreme reverence. So I just heard a crazy fatwa from some sheikh, and I say, is that the Hanafi school? Yes. Is that really the Hanafi school? Yes. I have extreme reverence for that, but personally, I can't apply that in my life. That's fine. You know, so it's very dangerous when you don't have reverence. So when you have ihtiqar, like, oh my God, really? The Shafi say that? They're crazy. That's haram to do that. You do not have to agree with the Shafi school, but you do have to revere the Shafi school. You don't have to agree with the Hanafi school, but you do have to revere that. You have to revere it. So you're like, oh, Hanafis, they don't join prayers. They don't know anything. Haram. You say these are scholars, God-fearing, intelligent scholars who've worked for centuries, over a millennia. They've worked this out and they come to the conclusion that their best fatwa is Allah does not allow you to join prayers on a journey. That is a respect opinion. I revere it. It's important, but I want to join prayers because others disagree with them. Right? That's the obligation for the layman, to have reverence. Right? So the problem when you come in is you're like, who's Bukhari anyway? Who's Imam Abu Hanifa anyway? That's the problem. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then somebody who is just like, no, I just follow Quran and Sunnah, what they're saying is, I think that the input is the same as the conclusion. That's not how it works. What you see on Google is not the input that Google saw. Google filtered it for you based on certain filters. filters are this way or that way, right? It organizes information. The decision of the doctor is not the same as the blood test, and the other tests are not the same thing. There's the blood test, there's the this, there's the that, there's the age of the person, the this. To put all the information together, the doctor did an imperfect human analysis of it, and he says, I think this is what we're going to do. We revere that judgment. He's an experienced doctor. He's studied, he's experienced, but we understand that he may be wrong. And the patient may die under the knife, that it might be the wrong thing to do, etc. So we still revere, respect it, but we understand it is not absolute fact. Right? As opposed to Aqidah, Aqidah is fact. Does Allah exist or not? Yes. Was Prophet Muhammad a prophet? Yes. Did he teach us X? Did he teach us Y? The basics of the deen, this is fact. And when you start questioning that, you're questioning fact, and that's not acceptable. So the difference between fact and confidence is a very important line. We have confidence in the Islamic tradition, but most of it is not fact. But when you come to fact about the Islamic, this is the reality. Prophet Muhammad came, he told us to pray 5 times a day. There's something called Maghrib, it has 3 rak'ahs, right? You have to make wudu before you pray. The basics of the deen, this is fact, right? And somebody starts questioning that, now that is now kufr. You do not accept the message of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, period.
But even Aqidah, the basics are, of course, agreed upon, but like there's some aspects of it which are differed upon, correct?
Yeah, but that's so. But that those points are not aqidah. Then, you know, is the pool before this, before that? Is the pool before the bridge? The pool on Judgment Day, is it before the bridge or after the bridge? It's debated, right? And there's going to be hadith this way, hadith that way. Okay, fine, not a big deal, right? But we're talking about aqidah. This is fact. We only base aqidah on fact. We don't base it on things that could be interpreted in more than one way.
But that's asma and sifat of Allah.
Yeah, we don't. So we're not going to label somebody as a kafir for something that is possibly can be interpreted in more than one way. We don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair.
Perfect. That makes sense, says yeah. Okay.
Yes,
So the point is somebody so now somebody comes along. So let's say, for example, I hate to use words, but like somebody who's like a Salafi or Ahl Hadith, they just want Quran and Sunnah, meaning they just want to work directly with this perfect, nice system, you know? But you actually can't interact with this perfect, nice system without an imperfect system. You have to plug in an app, which is my approach, your approach, his approach, and plug in the settings such as, what does ilah mean? What is your definition of Sahih Hadith? Is this a Sahih Hadith? How does this marry with this? How you have to put in all these settings and plug it in. So what they do is they oversimplify things to make themselves feel absolute. Right? They make themselves like, no, I'm just following Quran and Sunnah. You're doing something else. That's not. They are just they're applying a very simplistic system that seems so simplistic they don't realize it's a system. You know, it's like my eyes are processing the information that's coming into it right now, right? So I just see it as, no, there's a phone in front of me. Fareed, there isn't a phone in front of you. There is a phone in front of you. It's reflecting light in a certain way. It goes into your eyes. You're turning it upside down, selecting certain things and labeling certain frequencies with these colors. The phone in front of you is not actually black or blue. That's how you are processing it. Right? But they don't see that. They don't see that they have a processing thing. So they see it as absolute. And this is just an example of it. You know, you say, well, according to the Quran and Sunnah, how should you analyze the word ilah? Oh, there isn't a word. So therefore, you have to come up with one. And if you follow this approach, you come to this conclusion. If you follow that approach, you come to that conclusion. Right? Different ways of analyzing hadith, different ways of putting information together. The matrix, the system that we put in there for AI, for Google to process information, for managing data, right? You're going to put information there, put this forward, put that there. Statistics, right? How you represent statistics. The statistics, your chart and what is happening in reality are not the same thing. You've represented the numbers in a certain way based on a certain approach, right? That's one way of doing things. That's what we're doing. Does it make sense? Okay. So wiping part of the head, So we said the Prophet ﷺ, he was wearing a turban, pushed it back. So he just wiped a part of the head. So we say the default is you should do the whole thing. When he showed us that he just wiped a part of it, that means a part is enough. Washing the feet up to and including the ankles. Okay, so again, so now it's about hijab. Your feet are awra, according to the majority of scholars, right? According to the Shafi'is, Hanbalis, and Malikis, a woman cannot expose her feet up to her ankles. She can't expose her feet, period. Right? She has to cover her feet in front of non-mahrams. Okay? Hanafi school says yes, she can expose her feet. Right? And then tartib, it has to be done in order. Okay? It has to be done in order. So now we're going to have another principle, is al-yaqeen la yazulu bil-shak. This is an important principle that comes again and again in fiqh. Al-yaqeen la yazulu bil-shak. Certainty shall not be lifted with doubt. Certainty shall not be lifted with doubt. So I ask you, have you made wudu? Actually, I can't remember if I made wudu or not. Okay, so what's the default? You don't have wudu, so you go make wudu. I ask you, have you washed your face? Say, yeah. Have you washed your arms? Don't know. Okay, go and wash your arms. Have you wiped your head? Don't know. Okay, go and wipe your head. Okay, so now I ask you, you just wiped your head, and I say, hey, have you washed your arms? You say, I don't know. So the default is you have not washed your arms, in which case you have to go back and wash your arms. And because the order is necessary, you have to wash your arms and wipe your head again. Because when you wiped your head, it didn't count, because you didn't do it in order. Okay? So, al-yaqeen la yazulu bil-shak, certainly should not be lifted by doubt. Whenever you doubt inside wudu, you have to go back and build on yaqeen. Did you wash your arms? Not sure. Go back and do it, and then do everything after it. Okay? Now you have finished making wudu. After you have finished making wudu, there is a new default setting. The new default setting is your wudu counts. So now, after making wudu, you're like, oh, did I wash my arms? Say, I don't know, and I actually don't care, because the default is I did. So while making wudu, the default is you don't have wudu, and you have to go back and build. After making wudu, the default is your wudu counts. Does that make sense? So we're
If I'm in a pool and I make near that I'm going to do wuzu, do I have to do things in order, or I'm just because I'm wet all over, I just come
yeah. So
and
it's called theoretical order. So you are underneath the water and you intend wudu. Theoretically, there's a split-second gap. So yes, they call it tartib taqdiri. It's like a theoretical tartib, yes. But if you did, for example, if you put your feet in, you put your feet in and then put your face and arms in, no, that wouldn't count, because you didn't do the right order. So a great thing with kids, right? This is a very important thing with kids. You say, do you know why? You have your two sons next to the swimming pool. And you say, do you know why one of you is Hanafi and one of you is Shafi? Say why? So you push them both in the pond, and they push them both in, because in the Hanafi school you don't have to have niyyah. So his wudu counts by just pushing him into the swimming pool, right? In the Shafi school it doesn't, right? So make the deen as easy and as fun as possible for kids, right? Intentionally miss sunnahs in front of them, depending what kind of kids you have, right? Depending what kind of kids you have, but like intentionally, like, oh, deen is so easy. Like, oh, I'm traveling in Ramadan, I don't have to fast. So easy, right? So make it seem like you're funny with your kids, with the irreligious cousins, with the irreligious people, like, oh, deen is so easy, right? It's very important to do that, because in their head, they have the shaitan saying the deen's impossible. Like, that's what they have, this thing in their head, that you can't apply the deen. It's like, that's crazy. Like, being religious is crazy. It's like, no, it's not. It's very, right? It's very confusing, for people like, oh, how can you be educated and religious? What are you doing? Like, yeah, you can be educated and religious. Hey, how can you be religious and funny? Like, yeah, you can be, how can you be, I don't know, whatever it is. Like, so they have these things in their head, right? And it's like, it's very important to break that paradigm for them, right? Not for yourself, miss a sunnah for yourself, but like, yeah, make wudu quickly, pray quickly. It's easy. Join prayers, make it fun. Look, we're going to make wudu, jump in this, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we'll jump in. It all makes memories, right? Remember when Daddy used to make wudu like that with us? Good memories. the good associations as opposed to, how many times you were hit in Quran class, right? So maybe I'm speaking to people here in Pakistan, right? Zia and Zia, you're from Pakistan originally?
Yes, I am.
Right. So Zia and Sister Amina, right? Or Amina. It's like, what's the image of Quran's class? Is how many times they get hit, right? That's the image. So then it's like, so if it didn't happen to you, it happened to your big brother. If it didn't happen to your big brother, it happened to your uncles. There's all this trauma, right? That's very important that we have to kind of like help people get out of, right? It's a very important thing. Khair. Stroking dogs, right? As long as the dog isn't wet, it's like, what's wrong with stroking a dog? It's like, oh my God, thought you're religious. It's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with scratching a dog's head, you know? Like breaking unnecessary barriers. People have lots of barriers in their head that everything is haram and being religious is an impossible life that you could never do, right? And it's not true. Okay. So now the sunnah way of making wudu. Okay, so you say, so number one, the most important sunnah of wudu is focus, that you're focused on Allah from beginning to the end. That is the most important thing. So what ruins a religion is when it becomes dead and meaningless. Why are you making wudu? Because I'm praying. Why are you praying? Because I'm Muslim. I've literally heard a parent say this to the kid, because you're a Muslim and that's what Muslims do. That's the end of the religion. It's already finished. Right? Why does daddy say, why did daddy get mama a gift? Because it's your anniversary and that's what husbands do. It's like, well, it's the dead marriage, isn't it? That's a dead marriage, right? Because like, what does it even mean then? Like, this is what we do. Well, we married for 15 years. This is what we do anyway. I'm supposed to buy you something. So that's why I did it, right? So it's meaningless marriage, right? So meaningless ibadah. There's no ibadah in it. Like, it's just aada. It's just, this is what you do, right? We're Muslims, that's what we do. That's wrong. You say, good question. Why do we pray? Good question. Why do we make wudu? Yeah. Like, stop and just answer that question. It's very important. Like, why do we even do that? Do you think Allah exists? Yeah. The Prophet ﷺ is a real prophet, so yeah. So if Allah sent you a prophet, you wouldn't follow him? Of course I follow him. That's what he showed us to do. And this is how we connect with our creator. Like, you're breathing right now because of your creator. You shouldn't do sujood to him. Like your digestive system works because of your creator. You're not going to do sujood to him. You're not going to wash in the way that he asks you to wash. You're not going to, like, right? As opposed to stop asking questions, right? That's a very dangerous thing to do. Stop asking questions, right? Our scholars, they say what? It's obligatory to ask questions. It's called wujub al-nadhar, the obligation to ask questions. Because how could you have yaqeen if you didn't ask a question? But how are we raised? Stop asking questions. If you ask too many questions, you're going to get hit, right? That's how we're raised, right? But no, not all of us, inshallah. But it's like that's just how we are, right? We're Muslims and they're Hindus. Look, we do different things. Like, that's not a reason, because we do things that are haqq and they do things that are batil, right? So it's not like, oh yeah, well, it's Eid. Okay, why are you fasting Ramadan? Because we're going to have Eid, like they have Christmas. Like, okay, that makes sense. That's not the reason, though. The reason is there's a reality, right? I am interacting right now with reality, which is there's a creator. He sent me a prophet. I am tapping into that relationship by following this thing. Okay, so you need to have presence of heart. Why am I doing what I'm doing? I'm washing off sins. I'm preparing myself for the prayer as Allah asked me to do. So what do you do then? You say Bismillah, you say A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem and Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, but not in a bathroom. If you're in a bathroom, say that outside the bathroom. Okay? You face the Qibla and you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and then you wash your hands up to the wrists 3 times. And then you get your miswak, which could be a miswak itself, a siwak itself, or a toothbrush, right? You can use a toothbrush as well. So who are you going to use a toothbrush in front of? Your cousin who's irreligious. Like, why are you washing your teeth? Because I'm praying. Well, you wash your teeth like every single time you pray. Yeah, isn't that sunnah? They're like, yeah, but you're supposed to have one of those funny sticks. So again, in his mind, there's funny, weird, backward Islam and then the modern world, right? Where it's the same thing. The Prophet ﷺ died washing his teeth, right? That's what he did. Like, the last things he ever did was wash his teeth. That's what the spirit of siwak is washing your teeth, right? So a toothpick slash a toothbrush, right? Then rinse the mouth and nose out 3 times. Right? So you cup it into your right hand. Okay, suck it into your mouth, into your nose, and then you clean it out with your left hand. Okay, you don't clean your nose with your right hand. You clean your nose with your left hand. 3 times. Then washes the entire face, going a little bit beyond. Okay, why is it obligatory to go a little bit beyond? To go one tiny millimeter above the hairline, one tiny millimeter beyond the line of the chin bone. Why? Why is it obligatory to do that?
يقين.
اليقين لا يزول بالشك. Yes, but we don't usually phrase it like that. We say ما لا يتم وجود الواجب إلا به واجبي إلا به فهو واجب. From the point of view that it's not possible to guarantee that you what's it called? It's not possible to guarantee that you did everything without going a little bit beyond. Right? It's not possible to do that. Right? So here's a question. Those of you who are following the Q&A. Sheikh Farid, mashallah, has a lot of wara'. He's very, very careful in his deen. So what he does is he, when he's making wudu, he makes sure he's very careful to go beyond a little bit and does this and does that. But he pays his rent, even though he can, 3 weeks late. Is that called taqwa, guys? You have the money.
No.
So you're very, very careful about your wudu, but you're not careful about people's rights. Is that called taqwa? That's called taqwa badida. It's called cold taqwa. Like it's just a show. It's not real. Right? If the mushaf fell on the floor, astaghfirullah. When he starts like faking crying and like picks it up and he's like, wow, I've never dropped the Quran in my life, and like looks at his son and like, astaghfirullah, you're such a bad kid. Why did you ever do that? I've never dropped the Quran in my life. It's really, really bad. So like you care about the mushaf, but you don't care about people's feelings. Which is more sacred in Allah's eyes? Your child's feelings or the mushaf? Right? So you can tell a child off, but you can't destroy a child, can you? So what we do, this is exactly the Jahiliyyah. This counts, but this doesn't count. Right? This is al-balad al-haram. In the balad al-haram, in the sacred place, you can't kill people. Outside, yeah, go and kill one, do whatever you want. When you're in ihram, you're haram, everything's sacred. When you're out of ihram, you do whatever you want. That's how we think. 100% Jahiliyyah. But we don't see that somebody who's careful about wudu and is not careful about other people's rights is an idiot. And doesn't know Allah in wudu and doesn't know Allah in other people either. Right? SubhanAllah, I remember Sheikh Ashraf Munib, one of my teachers and one of my manager, right? I was printing off, there was an exam, like I was working under him, and one of the staff members was taking an exam as a student. Okay, so a staff member was taking an exam as a student. So he said, Farid, print off the exam and give it to this person. And then what's it called? And then mark it and tell me if they pass or not. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not taking it very seriously because it's a staff member, right? Just like your customer is staff, like it's kind of chill, right? So anyway, I printed off the paper, gave it to the lady to do the exam. She does the exam and she comes up and she's like talking to my manager, just like confused, like it says there's 15 questions, but I only see like 8. So then my manager comes to me for free, what's your problem? I'm like, oh, whoops, like it didn't print off properly. She's like, Farid, why didn't you check when you gave it to her? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, like she didn't realize, you know? He's like, Farid, it's not like that. I'm like, chill. Like, I'm just like staff member, right? It's not a big deal, it's not actual customer. And I just made a mistake. The printer ran out of paper or something. I just didn't check that it didn't print the whole thing. It's not a big deal. It's like, Farid, you don't get it. So in my mind, I'm like, there's things that count and things that don't count. Like wudu is important. Shafi madhab, Hanafi madhab, praying like this, feet like this, hand up. But like he's talking to me, says, Farid, Iman is not like that. Iman is everywhere. It's in how you print paper, that you check, right? Somebody is now in an awkward situation where they're doing a test, which is difficult for them. They're nervous and now they're confused. Now you've wasted my time, wasted this, like, Habibi, just print the paper off and check. Be thorough. So you're thorough about X, but not thorough about a Y. That's called nifaq. As opposed to Allah cares about everything in your life. Allah wants you, so you can't be there to, I'm asking Zia, please, work starts at 8 o'clock. So he wakes up at 7:47. How is he going to be there? You're not going to be there on time. So you care about Fajr. So, oh, why was it late? This is classic Eastern argument. I'm sorry I'm late because I was at Taraweeh. It's like, well, you care about the Sunnah, but you don't care about the Fard. Doesn't make any sense. You can come and ask me, hey, it's Ramadan. Do you mind if we start 2 hours late? I say, yeah, sure. As long as you put in the hours, I don't mind. You came and asked me. But otherwise, when you care about Taraweeh and the Khatam, you don't care about being late to work. It means you don't understand who Allah is, and you don't understand what Allah is asking you to do. And you see things like the Jahiliyyah. If it's here, it's okay. If it's not there, it's not okay. But Iman is to see Allah in everything. What does it mean to worship Allah in the car oil being on the floor? What does it mean to worship Allah in wudu? What does it mean to worship Allah in your desk being a mess? What does it mean Allah in your the way you talk to people, right? Show respect to the Imam because he's religious. Show disrespect to everybody else, right? There we go, right? Right in a nice way. Right in a nice way. Now, Imam Sha'rani, he said this. He said once, he put his mug down on the table a little bit hard, and the mug went, ow! And he said, SubhanAllah, from that day, I never slammed any door, and I was very gentle with everything, right? Very, very gentle, right? Be gentle with the engine. Don't rev the engine. Check your tires. That's Iman. Dunya is, I care about my tires. Iman is, I don't care about the tires, but Allah wants me to care about the tires, right? Check things, be thorough, right? There's a big difference in the Ibn Dunya, who's like obsessed about the dunya and specifics about dunya, but you care about things because Allah cares about them, right? So it's very important we don't have taqwa al-bari, that you care about being very careful about wudu, but you don't care about being careful about other people, right? Where in reality, if you made wudu a half, a lame wudu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, get out of here, I forgive you. Don't worry about it. Whereas if you didn't give people their rights, then what's going to happen to you? On Judgment Day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to say, I forgive you, but I don't know if they forgive you. And I need to ask your manager when you were 21 and you signed out of work early, or during COVID when you had 2 jobs and you were full-time apparently, but you weren't really, or when you said, I'll do it, but you won't do it, right? These kind of things, this is what Allah is going to ask us about. So we have to be very, very careful about the rights of other people, right? Very, very careful about the rights of other people, because that's the big thing. The small thing is, wudu and whatever. It's not insignificant, but I'm just saying in comparison, it's a big difference, right? So again, this is another reason why, one of my teachers, he said, irreligious people say, I hate Maulanas, like I hate shuyukh, I hate religious people. And the Sheikh said, I hate them too, because this is their attitude. Their attitude is, this counts, but that doesn't count. It's like, what are you talking about? It's not like that. Everything counts, and some things count a lot, right? Some things count a lot, right? May Allah protect us. So, okay, so it says basically, so you wash the face from the top down. You're going to wash the face from the top down, and you're going to get water inside your beard. Are you obliged to wash inside your beard?
Not if it is thick.
Not if it is thick. And why are you not obliged to do that? Because
And general difficulty.
General difficulty. 5 times a day, making wudu, getting inside that beard is hard. And it applies to me, you, and everybody, right? As opposed to, in the ghusl, it's not, right? So here, however, so it's sunnah to get inside the beard, right? To do takhiri al-lahyah is sunnah, right? And other people like our brothers, the Malikis, they say, no, it's not too difficult. What are you talking about? Right? As far as I know, right, Omar, you do have to wash inside the beard in the Maliki school. So they say,
no, if it's thick, no.
You don't have to do it. Okay. Jazakum khair. But anyway, you can imagine there's a debate. Some people saying it's not that difficult, right? So, Allah. So getting inside it is important. Washing both arms from starting the fingertips all the way up to the shoulders, right? You go all the way up to the shoulders. So it says to wash both arms up to including the elbows 3 times, and it's sunnah to pass fingers through that. And doesn't mention here, so all the way up, you go all the way up to the shoulders, not including the shoulders, so up to your biceps, basically, right? That's the sunnah to do that. Wipe the head by passing the hands from the front of the head, sliding the paired hands together. So basically, you make a gun, right? You're right with your hands. Put your thumbs on your temple, and then put your index fingers at the front of your head, and then you basically push it back and forward. Okay. Now you push it back and forward 3 times, but you push it back and forward if you have medium length hair. If you have a shaved head or long hair, you just go back once. So for a woman, for example, what she'll do is she just goes back. She doesn't go back and forward. She just goes back once, gets more water, but back once, more water, back once, right? As for somebody like myself, I have medium length hair. I go back and forward 3 times, okay? Or if a man had long hair, or if a man had very, very short, like shaved head, then he would just go back once, that's it. So if it flips, if the hair is long enough to flip, right, then you go back and forth. Otherwise, if it doesn't do that, inshallah. Okay, we'll stop here. Inshallah, we'll continue, inshallah, next week with wudu. If somebody could find out, Omar, can you do me a favor? Can you find on YouTube, there's a video of Habib Omar making wudu? If you could just share it.
I can share it. I'll share it on the group.
Inshallah. Okay, sallallahu alaihi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam.
Yes, can I ask a quick question?
Bismillah, go ahead.
Is there a minimum amount of water you should inhale into your nose, or just a little bit?
So basically, the minimum to do the sunnah is to get some water in there. Ideally, you should get quite a lot of water in there, unless you're fasting. So, but there isn't an actual measurement for that. So you should try and get a lot without harming yourself, unless you're fasting into your nose, and that's the sunnah. Basically, you're trying to clean things out properly. But otherwise, as long as you get something in there, then you fulfilled the obligation. You fulfilled the sunnah, right?
Thank you.
My apologies. I keep going into Arabic because I got Omar here, and so sometimes some of my emotions come out in Arabic because of, so forgive me if I say things in Arabic and you're like, what on earth is he saying? My wife's always telling me, says, Freed, you speak in Arabic too much in your classes. So I can't shout in Urdu. I'm sure we can shout in Urdu. I can't say that much in Urdu. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Should learn how to shout in Musa should learn how to shout in Spanish, right?
That'd be perfect. And then we'll all just be shouting different languages in our class.
Great, yeah. As long as you're shouting is important.
Inshallah, by the end of the book.
Yeah, in the book. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.